I'm going to test Spider-Man's method to turn anxiety in charisma, so that I can help my friend Danny, who also struggles with anxiety, have better relationships. Spider-Man doesn't have many of the attractive traits that distinguish the main characters of the MCU.
Knowledge is not power, that's power.
And he often becomes the target of jokes because of his young age and inexperience.
You're the Spiderling, crime-fighting spider. You're Spider-Boy?
And yet, he exudes an undeniable charisma, both on and off the screen.
You haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming? I haven't seen the Falcon Oh no, there isn't one, sorry.
And that obviously didn't go unnoticed by his new girlfriend, Zendaya. After watching all the Spider-Man movies and hours of Tom Holland interviews, I've identified a psychological formula that he uses every time to turn around anxiety that he may have in charisma. And I'm going to use it to help my friend Danny. Under the awesome leather jacket, Danny has a big heart and an ever bigger smile. However, like most people, he often gets socially anxious to the point that if he sees someone he's interested in, he stops himself from going up and speaking with them.
A little nervous, a little anxious.
So by utilizing what we learned from Tom Holland, I'm going to help Danny with his romantic endeavors. In order to do so, first we need to break down what Tom Holland does successfully in social situations. The first thing that really stands out in his interviews is he has an open body language. So he's not afraid to take some space. And this creates a very strong presence to himself, which also gets complemented by his voice, which is often very modulated and pleasant to listen to.
I was like, Tom, can you climb up that wall and then do a double backflip off here onto there? I'm like, no.
Now, this may not sound like much, but remember these guidelines in social situations and talking with strangers is going to go a long way. For example, often when you go up to someone you're interested in, there is a lot of tightness in the voice that comes from the pressure of the situation. So modulating the voice the way Tom Holland does it is a very good start. Now, moving from theory to practice. Will Danny be able to overcome his anxiety when talking to strangers? Now, his heart is pumping. Every inch of his body says, don't do it, but...
Hey, super random, but I thought you looked interesting. That one I could say hi. Yeah, what's your name?
You did it! Despite an initial moment of struggle, he managed to overcome his fear and speak with a complete stranger. So we decided to speak to more people, with the aim to keep his body language open and modulating his voice.
Danny. Yeah, I'm like code, I know.
Everything seemed to be going well for Danny. He had been able to speak with multiple strangers so far, until this happened.
Coleslaw?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Are you like a chef?
No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Are you like learning?
Yeah, I'm learning.
That's awesome. Well, I hope it goes good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
A little nervous, a little anxious. It just happens when it comes to meeting someone new.
Yeah.
So I'm slowly trying to experience it, like just take it in. The feeling of stopping before talking or even like approaching said person. It's like the same feeling when you practice a technique for a good amount of time, but when you actually interact with the...
Put it into practice.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, exactly.
As Danny was struggling, I decided to help him shift his state by practicing the Wim Hof method. This respiration exercise makes you feel grounded and calm, and you can practice it by taking 30 quick, deep breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Then exhale all the air you have and hold until you need to breathe in again. And after doing the exercise, Danny felt a lot better right away.
I feel good.
Okay.
Yeah, like I don't need to do anything. That's all.
Now that the first point is out of the way and Danny seems to have restored his confidence, it's time to review point number 2 of the Spider-Man method, which has everything to do with calibration. Notice how Spider-Man lowers himself to his knees as the very first thing he does, and then high fives his fan. Both these actions are geared towards bridging a gap between them, so that all of a sudden it's not Tom Holland the celebrity speaking with his fan, but rather two friends talking that have a lot in common. Another point that Tom Holland does frequently is showing his palms and gesticulating, which makes him seem very comfortable and authentic, because he has nothing to hide. And this is what I told Danny to focus on in order to make himself and the person he's speaking to feel more comfortable. Now the stakes have been raised. Not only Danny needs to actually find the courage to speak with someone, but he also needs to apply what I told him when it comes to developing charisma.
So at the moment, I'm just like figuring out what that is, and I really.
A while ago when I was good at it, was really fun. Yeah. Yeah. It didn't fall off.
That's all.
Yeah. I think it's because I have to.
And he did it again! And since I really wanted to drill this in, I asked Danny to talk with multiple people. And incredibly, he does it. I'm going to challenge him with something that Tom Holland does extremely well, and that is all about storytelling. He implements 3 psychological principles, with the first one being answering a question with a story, as you can see here.
Were people shocked, or were they accosting you?
The funny thing is someone comes up to me and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you're Spider-Man, hey." And I'm like, "Hello, how are you?" And they go, "You're English?"
Each time it surprises me.
This makes the people he speaks to a lot more interested in his answer, because he's not giving bland one-word answers. Instead, he's bringing everyone along for the journey on what it felt to be there emotionally. Tom Holland is an amazing storyteller, and it doesn't stop there. He also often adds mystery to his dialogue by not answering a question straight away, but rather letting the person he speaks with work for the answer a little bit.
So I was sitting next to this very pretty girl in class, and you have to go through an exam process to get into this school, which obviously I didn't do. And she's like, "Hey man, what's your deal? How are you here?" I was like, "Well, let me tell you my secret. I'm actually Spider-Man." She's like, "Dude, you're fucking nuts, bro. What? Really?" And I'm like, "No, seriously, I'm Spider-Man." Obviously, none of my movies had come out. No one knew about it. It was a big secret. So I just looked like some nutter that showed up for 3 days and then disappeared.
And lastly, he practices the principle of show, don't tell. As you can see within this clip of Tom expressing the urgency he had to remove his Spider-Man costume to pee while shooting a movie.
And it's like, "Zip me up, unzip me," and then you're like, "Get it off, get it off!" So it's...
Now, this will be a real challenge for Danny, because not only he needs to find the courage to go up to someone, but he also has to have an open body language while calibrating to the situation, while also storytelling within his conversations. Now, these many things would overwhelm anyone, so I told Danny the essence of what Tom Holland does that is so successful. And that is literally everything that you gotta keep in mind when it comes to being charismatic as an anxious person. One of the fundamental ways in which Tom Holland acts, and the reason why is particularly charming and attractive, is the fact that he's so unapologetic in himself, and that means including vulnerable moments. That means accepting parts of himself even though he's not winning, even in moments when people say, like, make a joke about him. After what I told Danny on that bench, he was ready.
So at the moment, I'm just like figuring out what that is. And personally, like I'm from like more of the South LA, where all like
the Bay Area.
Where all the rappers come from. So
The Raptors?
yeah.
You mean like Toronto Raptors?
No, like south of LA, where all the like the hood rappers come from.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So like
Torrance and stuff like that?
And here we have it. After struggling with an anxiety that was stopping him from going and speaking with people that he genuinely was interested into, Danny managed to find the inner strength to push forward and improve his communication, utilizing Tom Holland's charisma principles. And this propelled him forward into newly found self-confidence as a new, changed man.